Right, so let's see if we're up and running. Let's see. A link. That's a good start. Right, hello everybody. Let me just send a quick message in Discord when we get going. Hello Deco, nice to see you again. So let's go through the grid. Quick recap on last week, because we're only in round 2 of the season, so we're still early days. Our championship leader is Wack, who's in P14 here in qualifying. So he's not had a similar time of it as he did last week. He had a P1 and a P2 with quite a commanding championship lead coming into today. But let's go through the entire grid. So we've got the Citroens at the very back. We've got Cherry, who definitely is not used to being down in P16. The Citroen's very fast starting, so with this really long run down into turn 1, I'm wondering how quick or how far up the grid he can get. He's lined up alongside the Mazda of Pasti, who's another quick starter in the Mazda. Then the Alpha's another quick starter, so that's Whack Jamps, like we were saying in P14. Next to Yuri in the McLaren, which is not that quick at starting, so potential for Yuri to get completely gobbled up by the cars behind on this run down to turn 1. So another one to keep an eye out for. Kenny in the second Citroen lining up in P12. Astral, another really strong driver from the opening round. He's outside the top 10 here in P11. And Pyro, our race winner, we can finally say for the first time in 2 years, he is only 10th. So not a great track for the Alfa Romeos by the looks of it. We've got JMS in P9 in the GR Super. We know that is going to be a well-suited car for this circuit. And the Audi making his debut in Tier 3 and in ALR. He did the reserve race last week and he did quite well, getting podiums, I think. This is Genesis, another Irish driver. He's in the Audi, which we know is pretty solid pretty much everywhere this season. The other Toyota of Zimmer, a good qualifying for him. He's up in 7th. That's quite an impressive result for him so far. So a good start for him to build on in this sprint. Turbo Boy is looking to recover from pretty rotten last week. He's lining up 6th. Pretty similar story for Deco in the Mazda, which, I'm expecting him to be overtaking cars quite easily on this back straight if he can get close enough. Then we have Marriott. This is X-Natty G, our commentator on Sundays for Lobby B in esports as well. He is making his first start. He's in the Ford GT, so another very, very good car. Potentially the fastest car on the grid today, lining up in P4. Then we got the two BMWs still performing very solidly here. P3 for Spin, P2 for Harry. I'm wondering if they were working together in the bump drafts in qualifying. And we've got Colin, who set a ridiculous time. It was, of course, slipstream assisted in qualifying, but he got pole position, his first pole position in ALR. So he is looking to. He had a fairly decent start, but obviously it wasn't as good as some of the other drivers. He is looking to build upon that in this sprint race. We've got 8 laps now. Tokyo East, the first ever time we are doing Tokyo East on a Monday League. Really excited to see how this goes. It ended up being a very popular track on the whole, but a very different kind of challenge for these guys. So potentially we could see some new race winners today. Let's get going. Right, the lights out. It looks like a pretty good start there for Colin, and a slow one for Harry's immediately going off to block Spin. A little bit further down, Deco's already got past X90G. We know the Ford GT does not start too well. He's going to have to tuck in behind Deco. We've got 4 cars ahead. We've got Turbo Boy right behind, and quite a bit going on right behind Zimmer. We've got JMS, Genesis, Pyro, all jostling for position. There's a Citroen who's worked his way up there as well. That is probably Kenny. Yes, it is. He's just coming in. As we're approaching turn 1, let's join with Pyro and see how everyone negotiates this. Hopefully there's no contact. JMS going a little bit wide there. Pyro really doesn't take the corner well, loses a couple of positions. JMS all out of shape as well. Some more contacts, and it looks like Genesis was put a little bit into the wall there, loses position to Astral, who's trying to recover, and yeah, it just gets put in the wall as well. We've had a change at the top as well for the lead, so we're gonna have to go back and see what happened. Harry's definitely got a run on Colin on the run down into turn 1, and Spin there as well. The two BMWs potentially working together here. Deco is right up there in this top 4 as well, really close together. We were focusing on the battling a tiny bit further down. Looks like Harry and Spin both bump drafted themselves past Colin, and Deco's there as well. A little bit of contact between Deco and Spin into turn 1. Colin's going to try and get both of them on the inside of turn 2. Has to back out of it. Deco takes it. It looks like Colin is drag racing with Spin, with Turbo Boy and Marriott just behind them as well. 3 wide through this corner. It is flat out. But you've got to position yourself for this next braking zone, this really quick chicane that's just coming up. Spin having to tuck in behind Turbo, and Marriott completely backing out. Zimmer and Pyro battling around the corner as well. Pyro taking again too much speed, hitting the wall, losing a couple of positions. He's down to 10th. Kenny's up into 9th with the fast starting Citroen. A little bit further back, Cherry has recovered as well in the Citroen up to 14th. Our championship leader is currently last out of everyone on this opening lap. Back at the front, Harry is looking pretty commanding so far in this race. Him and Deco have started to create a little bit of a gap to the chasing pack, and now it's going to start getting interesting. We've got one hairpin and then an incredibly long straight where you really want to be getting a good exit out of this corner. It looks like Spin is not going to be, and that might, it looks like he's probably losing that position to Turbo Boy. They're having to go side by side, which isn't ideal. They're still making contact. Excuse me, coming down the straight. Spin is ahead of Turbo Boy, but he's going to be under a lot of pressure here because Turbo Boy in his Lamborghini is going to start reeling Spin pretty quickly. You've got the Ford of Marriott potentially getting bump drafted here from Zimmer. Let's see if Zimmer gives Marriott a bump draft. If you give the Ford GT a little bit of a bump draft, he might even be too quick for the bump draft here. He's caught up to Turbo Boy, and that is why he wasn't getting bump drafted. The slipstream has closed this pack of 4 up absolutely, and Spin is already going defensive into turn 1. Let's join with Zimmer. It looks like Spin's lost the position, and Marriott's got 2 there. Spin's going to lose another one to Zimmer. Zimmer goes very deep into the corner, and they all still make it through. Turbo Boy trying his hardest to get that position back off of X90G, and he gets it. Spin with a very late move into turn 2 gets that position, and Zimmer gets a little bump draft from his teammate to try and give him a bit of extra speed. Looks like they're all going to have to settle in a little bit now in this battle for P4. Turbo Boy still doing pretty solid here. We've got Spin under pressure with Marriott here side by side around these corners, and Marriott again having to tuck in behind. The Ford GT not too strong around this part of the track compared to the M6, so he just needs to stay close to Spin and he will surely get him on the next straight. Zimmer and JMS have still in the fight here as well, so both Toyotas well in the top 10. They need to stay close enough to X90G to stop them from just driving away on this straight. But let's join with Turbo Boy. Let's see from behind who's going to be taking this last corner well. It looks like Turbo Boy took it very well. Spin did not, and neither did X90G. They maintained their gaps really. Turbo Boy got away a little bit from Spin. But look at this, we're going to have 3 cars bump drafting each other. Kenny, JMS and Zimmer will be working together all the way down this straight, and they might be able to get a couple of overtakes done before turn 1 if they keep this up. They just need to work together and not go for an overtake. If they can all just focus on that, if they can continue bumping, they haven't bumped for a little bit of time here. There we go. This might be bad news for Cherry. It looks like quite a hard bump has dropped him back a little bit. We've also got an overtake for the lead there. There's Marriott taking Spin in his slipstream. He's also going for Turbo Boy as well, who's got absolutely no slipstream of his own. That's the difference in speed that you end up getting. And yeah, X90G really wide there. Turbo Boy takes that position back, and it's pretty much as you were. We've got a little bit of contact between all 3 of these cars. Kenny's trying to get past both of the Toyotas, and they're all very close. This is going to be tricky around these next couple of corners now. And Kenny looks like he had to lift a little bit there. JMS going very carefully, not wanting to collect Kenny. Kenny hitting the wall, and so does JMS. They're going to be side by side for the next corner. No, JMS backs out of it a little bit. He lifted there. And again, a little graze with the wall. That's the dirty air coming into play and having to adjust your driving. A little bit further up, Spin still right behind X90G. X90G is going to get, again, a little bit of slipstream from Turbo Boy, but Turbo still has quite a fairly decent lead over him. He's potentially threatening getting outside of the slip if he gets a better final corner. And he might, because Spin is actually going for a move on X90G, and that is going to be a good position. And once again, good news for Turbo Boy. Neither of them took that corner perfectly, so a bit of breathing space. Now, what's X90G going to do? Is he going to bump draft at this point of the straight? No, he's actually going for it instead. Spin's going to be getting a little bit of slip himself, but it's clearly not enough. X90G just deciding, I'm not playing the slipstream game on this lap anyway, and he's going to surely reel in Turbo Boy now as well. Colin not too far ahead himself at the top. We've got a change for the lead, so let's just see what happens into turn 1 and then try and figure out what happened with Harry to lose the lead of the race. Here we go. Turbo going defensive. He's managed to keep the position the last couple of laps by just simply going defensive, and Nath trying something slightly different there, and he's still not able to get Turbo Boy. So what happened with Harry? Okay, so it was the previous lap on the straight. We know that the Mazda's got a bit better straight line speed. BMW's no slouch, but yeah, very straightforward there, and he's going to try and get back in the slip. So let's go back forward. So a lap later, and Harry has kept pretty close to Deco. Deco taking the lead, looking for a big bounce back today after what happened with his race at Red Bull Ring. It just it wasn't a pleasant one for Team Mazda. Turbo Boy still at the head of this pack. There's a group of 3, then a little space, and then basically a group of 6 or 7, it looked like. So the whole grid, apart from somebody tailed off right at the end, are still within this pack. Anything can happen with a little bit of action. And this is where you can see the Ford GT is struggling a lot. Let's ride on board with Nath and see how the Ford, it just wants to hit the wall there. A lot of understeer, which is going to hurt a bit later in the season. Both of them graze the wall as well, but yeah, Marriott has a much better exit. And here's Spin as well, waiting to take advantage. So this is the closest that we've seen X90G to Turbo Boy coming out of the final corner. He managed to close in a lot of time there, potentially braking a bit later because he had to defend a little bit from Spin. But this should be fairly straightforward now for X90G in that Ford GT. 4th time unlucky potentially here for Turbo Boy. And it's very straightforward. And where's Spin? Spin's a little bit too far back. Turbo's going to benefit from the slip himself and get up to the speed that X90G is. So that'll protect him. Just over halfway through the race now. Zico still looking fairly comfortable. Let's do a little run through the grid. Deco with the fastest lap on that lap as well, a 57.2, very quick, especially considering there was no slipstream, no tailwind either. And we got Harry, he's not got the same pace as Deco, it looks like. He may be starting to get caught by Colin. We got Turbo, we got X90G. What, Turbo's ahead again? What the hell? He is not giving up this P4. Yeah, just way too deep for X90G. That was an easy overtake for Turbo, actually. So, continuing our run through, that puts X90G under a little bit of pressure himself from spin. Then we got Zimmer pretty much on his own now. He's second also ahead of his teammate JMS, so still looking solid for Team Toyota. Kenny in P9 and Cherry in P10, so that's a Citroen 910, Citroen 1-2 at the start of the feature race. Yuri just outside, Astral struggling in his second round here. Whack only made his way up to 30th, just ahead of Genesis and hitting the wall there. We got Pasty struggling in 15th, and Pyro quite a way off in 16th, so that was the guy who was cut off at the back. So he's definitely had an incident which we missed, which is a shame. I'm not going to go back, I'll spare his blushes. Here we go. So we got Zimmer's in P6 ahead of... Okay, we've missed an incident. So X90G was just fighting with spin and with Turbo Boy, struggling his way through some of these corners. You can clearly see quite a big lip there, and he hits the wall, and that is going to be P6 for spin. But how does Zimmer get past as well? He's got damage, so that is going to make things even worse for the Ford. And again, another little brush with the wall. He doesn't have any speed. And this is a little bit of a tight squeeze, and he gets through pretty easy there. So that's why Zimmer has moved ahead. Actually, just as I went forward very slightly, it looks like Zimmer goes deep into the corner. Yeah, late on the brakes. It's not the worst corner in the world, but he's being overtaken there for the Ford GT. He's going to rejoin right in the slip. These two losing time fighting each other now. It's actually worked out alright for Zimmer. So he could get a bump, stick with the Ford. They could both potentially get spin here. JMS still getting some benefit of the slip as well behind. So spin under a lot of pressure. Zimmer switching to go behind Marriott. He should have really stayed completely behind Marriott. He could have potentially had a go at him as well, but instead he's going to have to back out of it. No, he's not backing out of it. Here we go. There's a better angle. And Spin's still got the inside line for the corner. He's going to go for it. Leaves enough space for both of them. And at the moment, Spin keeps that position. JMS is now fully in the fight as well. So are we going to see some bumps between the Toyotas? Actually, no. He's a little bit alongside now. Oh, there's again. Well, they all make it. They all make it. Right, it's as you were after all that. Cherry falling back behind Kenny and Astral, and he's in the wall as well, so a little bit of a bad couple of corners there. He's lost his reverse grid position. He's down in 11th and he's falling backwards. Yuri is the next man who's potentially going to get that position. Astral working his way into the top 10 finally. We know that AMG's not got good top speed, don't we? So that is going to explain part of the issue. Here comes Genesis now on Yuri. So Yuri having a bit of a sloppy couple of corners, loses that position. Genesis goes deep in the corner though and hands it back. Wack's going to try and come through. Yuri's lost it. Unfortunate. That's going to definitely allow Pasty to get through. Yuri was facing the wrong way. Now he's facing the right way, but he's not moving at all. And ooh, nearly loses it. You don't want a bump draft. Oh dear. It's not a good idea. Not when he was going that slow. So now you've just lost loads of speed yourself. A little bit too late to be working together. Pyro's actually caught up to the back of them as well. Here comes Pyro. I think he's going to get both of them because they lost so much time with Pasty's decision. Well, Pasty lost the time. Now Pyro's bumping them. Again, they weren't going fast enough really for the bump. He should have just overtaken both of them. Potentially he didn't know about Yuri going very slow though. Pasty's going to get the spot on Yuri. And Pyro still in 16th. So, what's going on at the front? No one's beaten Deco's fastest lap yet. He's still in the 58s, Harry's in the 58s, and Colin is in the low 58s. So, very quick pace from our top three. X90G's got past Turbo Boy. It was on the straight, so he's finally going to execute this move that he's been trying to do on Turbo. He's got quite a big distance to him here, so we could actually go forward a little bit. Okay, he's already got past him. Right, whatever. I'm not going back again. So Turbo just really has to stick as close as possible. This is going to be his best result of the season comfortably, even with a P5. But we know Turbo could do better. Expecting race wins from him this season, potentially next week in Watkins, because it's a track that the Lambo should enjoy. Spin just nestled in behind JMS now, so the BMW driver behind both of the Toyotas. He's dropped back. Bit of a disappointing one, I think, for Spin, because he could have had, well, been in the top four, I reckon, would have been possible without the mistakes. Cherry still only a second or so away from reverse grid pole. Astral dropping a little bit back, and we see Wack is up into P12 now, ahead of Genesis. Yuri's dropped all the way to the back as well. At the front, Turbo Boy, I think he's going to get driven away from with the Ford now that we're going into 6th gear. We are starting the final lap of the race now. Seems to have settled down a little bit. Spin's got himself past Zimmer again, so these guys have switched positions 5 or 6 times at this point. Here comes Zimmer, he goes for the bump. Ooh. I don't think I'd have gone for the bump on the final lap with JMS right there, because now Spin is potentially going to have a go at JMS. So JMS going defensive. Let's see if they take turn 1. It forces Spin to go really wide around turn 1, and Zimmer gets him. So actually it's worked out perfectly. What do I know? Now it's a Toyota formation for the rest of the lap. Well, Zimmer's actually got himself past JMS as well. I think JMS lifted there. So Zimmer up 2 positions in the space of a couple of corners. At the front, Deco's just miles ahead now. There's been a change for P2. What happened? Harry slow out of turn 2, so he got turn 2 wrong quite clearly, and Colin is yeah, he just eases his way through on the final lap. That'll be really frustrating for Harry. He had a very strong sprint race last week on the podium. He's going to be on the podium again still, despite that little mistake. But yeah, that has definitely cost him a position, and Colin's consistency there coming out. A little bit further back. Still a bit of a gap there. We've got JMS falling behind Zimmer now. So more action happening back here. Everyone's really close together. Spin trying to move on Zimmer as well. Zimmer's got damage, so he's definitely been in the wars. Now JMS is through. Zimmer's down into P9, and make that P10 because Astral's just got past. Zimmer's still with damage as we head into the final hairpin. Is he going to keep his top 10 position? It should go off just as we head into the final hairpin. He's getting muscled out of the way there by Cherry. Cherry is fully ahead of Zimmer heading into the final corner. We do have some more battling going on. We've got Deco coming to the line now to take a very dominant sprint win in the Mazda. Very well deserved. Another win for Deco. Colin is, with this horrible camera angle, just ahead of Harry by the slenderest of margins in the end. X90 P4 on his Tier 3 debut. Turbo Boy 5th. Spin just holding off JMS for P6 and 7. Kenny in 8th in the end. Cherry 9th. Astral 9th, sorry. Cherry 10th. Zimmer will be very disappointed about dropping 5 positions on the final lap with that damage. 11th. 12th for Wack. 13th Genesis. 14th Pyro. 15th is Yuri. And 16th belongs to Pasty. Bloody hell. Right, let's try and find this feature race. It's going to be... Actually, let me close this and go back in. It was uploaded during me commentating the sprint. So let's hope that GT plays ball. Replays. There we go, there's the feature. Love to see it. So this is it. This is going to be a good one. All that I know really is that it rains. Which I didn't do any rain practice for this. I was just like, if it rains, I'm fucked either way. So let's just focus on my dry pace. And luckily for me, that paid off. Especially after what happened in round 1. With it raining 2 laps from the end in Austria in my tier. But anyway, let's have a quick look at what the tyre strategy is going to be. You can do medium hard, you can do hard medium. Some people might try the 2-stop. It's not a good idea, but I can see some people feeling like they need to. We've got hards for Cherry. So the highest medium runner's Kenny at JMS on the mediums, as is Spin. So if they get held up behind some of these hard-tired drivers, they're going to struggle. X90G on the mediums, Harry on the mediums, also Zimmer. So are they doing medium hard, or are they going to do a 2-stop? That is the question. Let's get going anyway. We've got 40 minutes. I hate this camera angle that they keep showing us. What is going on with that? Rolling start, 20 laps. And it looks like the Citroen doesn't actually get off to the best start there. We know that the AMG is actually quite a good starter. So Astral in the slip of Cherry here could potentially take the lead of the race. These are 2 drivers on the hard tyres. Astral going for the bump draft. Still a little bit too far from turn 1, he thinks, but he's might come under a little bit of pressure from the other Citroen, Kenny. Astral going inside into turn 1. Is he going to get the position? He doesn't. Really good first corner there for Cherry. Astral P2, Kenny in 3rd, and JMS is 4th there as well. So the top 4 all very close together. P5 is headed by Turbo Boy just ahead of Spin and Harry, who's worked his way up. Deco's worked his way up. A little bit further back for Colin, and X90G seems to have gotten a terrible start there, down to 10th. And he's trying his hardest to get past Colin. Then you got the Alphas a little bit further back as well. Trying to recover. They were the championship leaders, the Alpha team, heading into the round. But 0 points in the sprint is going to really hurt them. Oh, and someone is very hard into the wall there. I don't think it was Pyro. I think it was Whack. Let's go. We have to see this. We have to see this. So the first big blunder. He gets overtaken by his teammate, and then he takes the corner completely wrong. Pyro does as well. And Whack is completely in the wall, and through goes Yuri? No, yes. He should get Whack here anyway. Yeah, really brave on the outside, even though he was on the hard tyres. That was very good corner there for Yuri, up into P13 with that. Then there's pass, oh, but that was a bad one. So, oh, Whack bumps. What's going on, guys? That was an easy position for Whack if he wanted it. He just completely gave it up. What's going on up here? Everyone's bunching up. We got Nath versus Colin around the final corner. Is Nath going to keep it? He does. He gets great exit, actually. Colin loses that position, and X90G might fancy another position or 2. Deco is out of the slipstream. He's out of position here as he was trying to drag race with Turbo. Turbo's potentially going to get ahead of him, and Nath is going to stop him from slipping into the slipstream. Now, what's Nath going to be able to do? He gets bump drafted by Turbo. Turbo doesn't give him any choice but to bump draft him. Clever move there for Turbo, and now he tries to rejoin and potentially get a bump draft himself from Deco, who's got the overspeed now. So Turbo really being kept up with this, and X90G falls out of the slipstream and falls back despite being in the Ford GT. So that just shows you how valuable the slipstream is on this part of the straight. We've got Colin right behind for company as well. It's going to be tight here. Turbo Boy looks like he's lost the position to Deco. X90G trying to position his car in a way that avoids any contact, which he did pretty well there, and everyone is pretty much as they were. Deco up a position though. So good start from our race winner. He's already up into P7 at the start of lap 2. Then we have the BMW boys bumping each other through, and then we have a big gaggle of cars here. It's all kicking off, so everyone's still in position. Kenny's lost a place to JMS, but yeah, they're all incredibly close together in this fight at the front. So we have the two medium-tired cars in third and fourth, and then the first two are on the hards. And Astral gets that corner so wrong. He's got damage as well, so JMS should get this position, sticks it around the outside. Kenny, what can you do? Try and not get into an incident, and there was a bit of contact there. Harry driving quite aggressively here, and Kenny just running about a road, and a bit of of a thank you for earlier, I think. Deco gets past him as a result of that. He's got damage, and that's going to penalise him down the main straight. Deco's trying to get past. The other BMW goes very deep in the corner. Spin should be able to get the switch back comfortably. Astral and Kenny now making contacts. Quite a bit of argy-bargy going on at the start of this feature race, that's for sure. So, where does that leave us? Cherry's still in P1. He's got a decent lead over GMS. GMS might get him in the run to turn one, especially on the medium tyres. The Supra does have a very good top speed. He doesn't want to slipstream this guy. That's the right decision, because look at the difference in speed. Not much Cherry could do about that one, and he's just going to have to tuck him behind. It's not the end of the world for Cherry. He's on a completely different strategy to JMS. If he could stay with JMS for a few laps, that would be ideal. He doesn't want to continue falling back though, because Kenny and Astral are currently side by side. Kenny on the mediums, Astral on the hards. Another one who's starting to fall back now, which is expected when you're on the harder compound. Although it's not as impactful as other races. So Deco up into 5th now. He's on the hard tyres as well, so Deco could really win this race. He's only got a few more to catch. It looks like he's catching them very quickly as well. Threaded the needle almost, hit the wall and loses a position for the first time in the race. So he's got a bit of extra work to do. Harry on a real charge on these mediums. And it looks like he's got the position. Astral making a bit of a mistake, going a bit wide. Deco trying to capitalise as well on Astral being out of position. Couldn't really do it. Now he's out of position. Gets bumped through the corner from Spin. And that might get him a run into the hairpin. Harry looks like he's wanting a move as well on the Citroen. Here comes Deco. That Mazda has atrocious brakes compared to the rest of the field, and that's why he absolutely couldn't stick it there. Astral, oh, he's in the way as well, and there's been a spin for Harry. Okay, it's all kicked off. It is fully kicked off. Harry is back, and he's down right at the back from P3, so contact between him and Kenny again. Well, yeah, that's a racing incident. He was pushing too hard on the exit, which is what happens. So that'll put him right at the back. We've got Wack and Pasty. We know Wack's been in the wars. I'm assuming Pasty has as well. So where does that leave us at the end of lap 3? We've got GMS ahead of the two Citroens. Cherry continuing to drop back. Kenny's on the softer tyres. Deco's got a bit of slipstream himself, but he's come under the threat of pressure from Astral. Everyone's bunching up again into turn 1. Kenny ahead of Cherry now. Astral threading Deco. Deco going very deep through the corner, avoids the wall, but well, yeah, he has lost the position. Spin's going to try and follow Astral through. They're both trying to get into Astral's slipstream there, and it's going to be really tight. They have to go back into single file at some point, or else there's going to be an incident at this next corner. And Spin does surrender. He tucks in behind Deco. Pyro's up into P8, so he's had a good start. He's trying to get past Turbo Boy here, and instead gets himself overtaken. We've got Mason and we've got X90G, it looks like, in this battle as well. Yeah, X90G's worked his way up into 7th, past Turbo and Pyro. So he's on a bit of a recovery now. It was a bit of a shaky first lap for him. Everyone's super close. looks like he might be trying a move here. He's on the mediums. Deco on the hards. Deco going defensive now. Deco was making good progress, but that's how quickly it can turn. The side-by-side, oh, both of them avoid a spin, but they'll have lost some acceleration, the both of them. Let's change the camera angle. Let's try and get a better view of what's going on. So they've got a drag race. They don't really have the slip from in front. And they've got Pyro bearing down on them very rapidly as well. So he could be in contention here by the end, because they're still drag racing. Neither of them particularly winning this battle down the straight. Very similarly paced cars on a straight line, but it looks like the Ford GT finally edges in front. Deco's still not over. He's just taken a tiny bit of slip. Thought it was enough to get the overspeed to try and move around the outside of turn 1. Pyro closing in the whole time. Yeah, it was all fine. It was fine. And it is as you were. Spin putting loads of pressure on Astral right now. Needed to stay up. Yeah, he's trying to find a way of getting alongside, but that's not the way to do it around those corners. You want to just be tucking in and taking the racing line and pulling out as late as possible if you want to try and move there. But it's really more a game of staying as close as possible until a little mistake is made by the car in front, which we've seen happen a few times. Putting the car in front under pressure by being so close behind can result in them going quite deep in corners, just like Astral's done there. And now he's out of shape for this next corner. Spin has a chance of getting him before the hairpin if he nails the exit. He's trying to get alongside. There's not space for him to do it there. Oh, is he going to be brave on the brakes? He's going for it. He's going to completely overshoot. Just avoids the barriers. And, oh, nearly spins. He's lost 4 positions there. Pyro gets a poor exit out of the last corner, or else he would have surely got spin. Instead, he's going to get himself overtaken by Turbo Boy. He needs to let Turbo Boy get him here, go into the slipstream and try and get him back into turn 1. There's a bit of action going on here. Deco versus X90G once again, and we got Astral and Cherry once again, who are bump drafting. No bump drafting for X90G, he just wants the position here. Deco is in slip. It's potentially going to become X90G soon, but they're staying in the middle of the track, which is helping Deco massively here. So Deco, the favourite to keep this position in the turn 1. Is Astral going for a move on Cherry? He is. And that he tries to get a good corner exit there, but the cars are all in his way. He has to stop his acceleration. Deco and Cherry making contact in the middle of turn 2. They're trying to go 3 wide. There was no space for Marriott there, and they're still going to be side by side. Keep making little taps here, which is not necessary. Yeah, see how much. Oh dear! Now we got Spin trying to get through as that was crazy. What is going on? Right, so you see, Natty was taking the corner very easy here. He lifted early to make sure that he didn't collect the cars in front. Spin makes a bit of contact, and then really had nowhere to go to try and put his car up the inside, and then had to back out of it. Loses 3 positions as a result. That's how close everyone is. Bit of contact between Colin and Turbo up above as well. Now Pyro finds himself on the outside of this corner, which you don't want to be. One of the cars up there going really wobbly through the corner, and Pyro has that position still on Colin, and Spin and Colin going side by side through there. God, it's all kicking off. No one's really took that corner well, potentially apart from Harry, who's dropped all the way down to 11th now, trying to make his way back. BMW side by side into the hairpin. A little bit of bump on Pyro. Colin goes deep. Pyro goes deep. Harry goes deep. Through goes Genesis into the top 10 out of absolutely nowhere. Pyro just pips him on the exit of the corner. It's all kicking off. So we're only on lap 6, waiting for the rain. I don't know when it's coming, but this is just a very standard, if not a little bit messy, race between everyone. But top 50, oh, shame for Zimmer and Pasty down at P14 and 15 there. Whack still trying to catch up to the back of the pack as well. JMS, it is looking absolutely beautiful for. He's been lapping in the low 59s for the last 4 laps as well. He's got quite a big lead over Kenny, who's also on the medium. So the top 2 are on mediums. Astral on the hards is looking great for. Deco in P4, just ahead of X90G. And Turbo Boy going through turn 1. This is where the craziness is. We have to stick with this, don't we? So it looks like, yeah, X90G, Turbo Boy, Cherry, Spin. Then God knows what's going on behind Pyro. Pyro's trying himself to get past Spin. And then everyone is right behind. I think we're going to see an incident here, aren't we? It's coming. Right, they weren't side by side. They did go side by side through that corner. They all managed to actually survive without damage, which is phenomenal. Spin under a lot of pressure now from Colin. Colin's been trying for a couple of laps to get past Spin, not able to. Now there's more contact with the walls here. Harry right behind Colin's trying to take advantage. No one's got damage still. Oh, Genesis nearly coming into contact, braking very late for that corner. You can get away with braking incredibly late for the corner there. No one making any moves just yet. Still got a couple of laps before we're going to start seeing the first of our pit stops, I reckon, as well, unless people are too stopping. Oh! Well, what was that? It's not Whack Jams, it's Zimmer. It looked like another one who's missed his braking point. He has. He actually did incredibly well there to avoid everyone. So, through goes Pasty up into 14th, Yuri up into 30th, everyone gaining a bit of a free position there. Harry worked his way past Colin. Colin's going to try and get back. Now, there's an interesting thing about this McLaren. It performed incredibly well around here, but it has atrocious top speed. And I'm thinking that it is performing well due to the aerodynamics and how it performs in slipstream. Because it seems to catch cars pretty fast on this straight. So if it's in the slip, it's able to pull out some cracking laps. This is going to be, what, the 4th bump on Harry? Actually, it's not. He's going for it. And really brave on the brakes. And there is the top 10 once again for Colin. These guys battling on the podium in the last race, struggling in the feature. Then we got Spin, Pyro, and Cherry. Cherry went deep in that final corner as well, so he's still in 7th. Good corner there from Spin. Really closed the gap on Pyro. Pyro's having to position his car a little bit defensively here, just to stop any late move. That one's a really tricky corner to do on the hard tyres. Whoa, Spin's just gone for it. And Pyro's going to try and get the switch back here. He's on the outside coming into the corner. Spin's very late on the brakes, completely missed the braking point there. Yeah, tyres out of that one are not going to let you get away with that, and Pyro isn't either. So he's back up into 8th. Still not over between the two of them. And it's kind of a half move. And he actually gets away with it. Pyro gives him the space. Pyro's going to get a better exit. Oh, nearly coming together. Both of them struggling for traction there. That is going to absolutely bring Colin back into the mix. He needs to get behind Spin, get more of a slipstream. And if Spin's clever, he starts working. Well, no, he's gone into the pits instead. I thought he was going to start working with Pyro, but that is a clever idea as well, potentially. Let's see what tyres he puts on. Mason's getting a very helpful bump there from Genesis. He just lost the slip with the other car going into the pits there, and now he's potentially going to get P8 from Pyro. Here comes Genesis as well. Pyro might lose 2 here into turn 1. He brakes a little bit later than Colin. Colin thwacks the inside. And there we go, P8 for Colin. Let's go back to the front and see what's going on. JMS, his first lap in the 2 minutes since lap 2. I think we'll let him off for that. Kenny also lapping in the 2 minutes. Marriott is lapping in the 59.7s at the moment, ahead of Astral. Astral doing pretty well to stick with X90G. Deco is in 5th. So remember, X90G works his way through this horrible pack that no one can really get through. He's managed to do it, and he's started to make some inroads. He's on the mediums. Let's go back to Spin. Spin's put on the softs and Zimmer's put on the softs. These guys are 2-stopping. Same with Harry. So, yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens with the rain when it comes, but if it's timed poorly and they've had to make the second stop before the weather, that is not going to bode well for them. JMS comfortably in P1. Kenny doing really solid job here in P2. And then let's see if there's any action. Turbo Boy just ahead of Cherry in the battle for P6, and Colin not too far behind now as well. The pit stops could completely change this order depending on who has the better strategy. These all should be losing positions to the BMWs who've pit. In comes Turbo. Turbo's the only one coming in. He's going to try and do 11 on mediums, I reckon. So trying to get an undercut on everyone, which I'm not sure, because everyone's got massive slipstream and he's not going to have the massive slipstream. So it might be negated a little bit. Whack up into P12 now, ahead of all the pitters. Let's see where Turbo Boy comes out. He's put 100% of fuel in, so he can get 11 laps out of 100%. He's already behind the BMWs. He's going to be behind Zimmerman as well. So these guys all stopping early, putting on the softs. He's got the mediums. He can let them drive off into the distance, and that's what he's hoping they will do, because they're going to have to make another pit stop and in a few laps time, and he's essentially got a full pit stop on these guys, give or take a few seconds. So not the end of the world, even though he's in last position right now. Just needs to get his head down, put in some very solid laps on these fresh medium tyres. Another lap in the 59 to mid 59 for JMS, still lapping pretty solid there, a full second quicker than Kenny. X90G lapping half a second quicker than JMS at the moment, so he's doing a solid job there, a bit deep around that corner. Astral in the AMG, potentially getting hunted down on this lap by Deco. I'm expecting almost everyone to come into the pits on this lap. A 10-10 is the sensible strategy. Talk about sensible. We've got Cherry versus Colin. Cherry defending, takes a little bit too much speed through the first half of the hairpin, but gets a great exit here. Now, these guys are going to be side by side, potentially coming into the pits. JMS in the pits already. They're all going to be in single file. Kenny carries on. X90G in the pits. These guys surely all coming in. Astral and Deco as well. Cherry, Colin, and Pyro. Nose to tail. That was the order of them coming in. Pastian as well, not too far off at the back. Same with Yuri, and now Whack is coming in as well. So we've got Harry is the top driver of everyone who's made a pit stop, just ahead of his teammate Spin. 2 BMWs, 2 soft tired runners. Everyone else is going to be putting on mediums and hards right now. So up into 3rd goes Harry, up into 4th goes Spin. Out of the pits comes Marriott, but he's going to be very slow. Zimmer's going to get past him for sure. So Zimmer is going to be a net P3 in all this. That's how quick it takes. So that's the benefit of the undercut and putting on the fresh tyres. You've leapfrogged the entire grid there. We've got Astral and Turbo Boy. Turbo Boy, who made an earlier pit stop as well, he's got ahead of Astral, so he is in a net P4 as it stands. So it's working out well, even though he's not stopping again. So he is the leader of the drivers who've made their final pit stop at this stage. Going pretty well for Turbo. Astral, bit of a dodgy turn 1, under a bit of pressure now from Genesis, who's had a good pit window as well, up into 9th. Deco down into 10th, so not sure what's gone wrong there for Deco. He's on the mediums. He's going to have to come through the field the hard way. Same for Colin, quite far down. Then we've got Pyro, Cherry, and Yuri incredibly close together. These 3 with nose to tail, but Pyro is now ahead of those 2, putting in slightly less fuel, I'm assuming, which he's going to have to manage for the rest of the race. Cherry, a bit slow here. He's on the mediums again, and he's got damage. Yuri's probably got damage there as well. Yuri's got less damage than Cherry. That was a bit sloppy. Let's go back up to Kenny coming into the pits. JMS, what has happened to JMS? He's come into the pits and he's out, and he actually came out ahead of Spin and Harry, so I was a bit wrong there. He had such a lead. He's now going to get overtaken by the BMWs, but that's absolutely fine. They have to make another pit stop. So if I was JMS, I wouldn't be fighting this too hard. Potentially he doesn't know about this though. So through goes Spin. Harry's going to tuck in a Spin slipstream and try and give him a bump draft as well. Kenny continuing. Kenny coming out of the pits. It did look like he was still in P1, but obviously he's going really slow out of the box. So he loses those 3 positions. We'll see where he comes out in relation to Zimmer by the end of the first turn. Looks like he might have enough. Spin, meanwhile, is currently P1 and Harry is currently P2. JMS just behind both of them and is gonna power slide through that corner. But still, it's looking good for JMS. He's ahead of Kenny, both of them on the hard tyres now. They will be probably fighting it out for the win a little bit. JMS's lead has dropped a little bit. Deco, Astral and Genesis, meanwhile, coming out of the first couple of corners side by side. Deco trying to make quick work of everyone. He was down in 10th, he's now up into 7th. Using those medium tyres to good effect here as well. It's got to be said. Zimmer's all on his own on the softs. He's round about the 50% mark on the wear. So he's at least he's probably halfway through his stint or a little bit further. So he just needs to manage his pace, manage his tyres. At the front, Spin and Harry do have slightly more worn tyres than Zimmer at this point. Harry has the worst tyre wear, potentially because he's been pushing the hardest. Goes very deep into the final corner, so does Spin. JMS takes it quite neat and tidy, but it's still not going to be enough to have a run at the BMWs. The BMWs just need to work together for the rest of the race here. Bump drafting galore so that they can build up a gap. They're going to come out probably outside the top 10 still, because everyone's still pretty close together. Certainly not a pit stop back down. Harry with absolutely no pace there. He gets a huge bump off of Spin, which loses Spin a lot of time. It's only taken until now for him to get back up to the same speed as Harry. Now he's closing in again. So he's going to get another big bump on Harry. He has to actually lift a little bit. Now they just need to nail these inside corners. This is basically a bit of a complex time trial situation that the BMW guys have in this race until the next pit stop. JMS be absolutely laughing at this point. I don't know if JMS has ever won a race at tier 3 level. I'm going to say no. He's won tier 4 races, that's for sure. Won one last season. So that'll be a good return to form for JMS. Kenny struggling now on the hard tyres with Zimmer on the softs behind him. But these softs are starting to go off a little bit. Zimmer should still, even with like almost fully worn softs, have the pace over Kenny. But it looks like he's driving a bit carefully at this stage of the race. He should be able to get Kenny on the straight. Something's happened to Harry. Harry's down in second. Harry is going to hit the wall and then hits the other wall, and he's got some damage. JMS is going to get him now. So, what a way to lose the lead of the race. And also, this is an absolute disaster for their strategy of bumping each other out of harm's way for later in the race. It's both of them hitting the wall again. This was great for JMS. He's just got some free slip on the straight as well. JMS is proving that the GR Supra is still one of the top cars for these high-speed tracks. Having to get out of the throttle a little bit there to avoid driving into Harry, but still very close behind him. Here's the rain. The rain has officially started coming down. It looks very heavy. We're in the tunnel. Everyone's coming into the pits as well. So they must be seeing some very heavy rain on the radar. What's going to happen? Kenny's coming in. Zimmer's coming in. Natty G's coming in. Astral is coming in. Mason's coming in. Everyone is coming in. So no one thinks that this is going to be a short stint. Here's Pyro, Yuri, and Cherry. Bloody hell. This has worked really good for the guys who were planning on two-stopping. JMS is out in the lead. He's actually put on fresh soft tyres. So he changed his mind on the inters? Misclicked? I am not sure. But yeah, we're definitely, this is going to be really hard to take some of these corners with how full the fuel gauge is. Intermediates for Kenny. So let's see the gap between Kenny and JMS close. And oh dear. And through goes X90G as well on the intermediates. JMS in third. Fourth place is Pasty. He just stayed out on his medium tyres, and that's worked out better for him than JMS putting on some cold softs. So Pasty with a better idea, but I don't think it's that good an idea. Here's Astral on the intermediates, getting past JMS. Pasty's just completely span his car the opposite way around, so he's going to lose all those positions. Mason works his way up into P4 on the inters. Turbo Boy inters softs for JMS. He's still in 7th. Make that 8th because Harry on the full wets is in 7th now. I don't know why he's gone on the full wets. Genesis is on the inters. Inters softs for JMS. Let's just ride on board with him because I need to see. Well, he's lost all his positions now anyway. So let's go a little bit further up. Inters for Pyro, and he's just outside the top 10 here. Yuri's on the inters. This is pretty heavy. We're starting to creep towards wet territory. Let's ride on board with Harry and see how his wets fare compared to everyone else's intermediates, because we are almost 2/3 full on the water gauge. Should get a good exit out this final corner compared to these guys. Everyone's got traction control on pretty strong as well, so that's having a big impact. We missed the change of lead, by the way. So what's happened here? Kenny, who found his way in the lead after JMS put on some soft tyres. Oh, JMS forgot to buy tyres. That is surprising considering this is the second wet race in a row, potentially. So Kenny lost it there. Gifts the position, P1 to X90G, who was struggling at the start of this race, and now he's looking pretty good that we're going to see him get his first ALR win potentially here. Ooh, he needs to keep it. Yeah, we're in wet territory now with this weather. So Harry, on his wet tyres, might have had a blinder here. Is it gonna keep up? We are. I mean, he's not been able to get past his own teammate on the other tyres, so they seem to be very equally paced, the inters and the wets. So the inter would be the preferable tyre at this point. Look at that rain coming down, it looks so crazy. Now, will he get a good exit here? That's the question. Everyone really dodgy on the throttle, but they all make it. It's clean and smooth. Now here, this might be where Harry is starting to pull in on spin with how much water his tyres can clear. We're now into the dry tunnel, which completely changes everything. But Harry still has the speed on it. And, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Spin went for the bump draft. No, it was a bad idea, actually. And now we're back into the wet. That's going to be a big shock to the car, going from completely dry tunnel to a completely wet track. The rain is still relentless at the moment. Harry has gone purple in the first sector in the full wet. That's crazy. Now everyone just about surviving. Through goes Turbo Boy there with a great little overtake. So yeah, Harry not able to find his feet in the wet. Genesis goes through as well. Spin all over the back of Colin. This is where we're going to start seeing people go into the walls. Right about here. Kenny, there we go, and there's the incident. Spins in the wall as well. Turbo's being affected by it. Right. Let's ride with Kenny. Here we go. This is the tricky corner. He goes deep through the corner, hits the wall, comes back on, makes contact with both of them, makes contact with Turbo with his tail as well, and that's down to the bottom of the grid for Kenny. Wack's going to try... well, he's got damage himself. Pasty's in the pits now. He's gone for the inters. Okay, so they think that the rain is going to continue. X90G has quite a lead at this point. Everyone's losing traction through there. Let's see. X90G doesn't have traction control switched on. Let's see if anyone else doesn't. Neither does Genesis. Maybe that's why they're progressing up the grid so quickly. If everyone else has quite high traction and they're getting it right on the corner exits. Harry in P4 now, ahead of Spin. Trying to get on Genesis as well. They're side by side, a little bit of contact. Genesis quite deep on the exit. He tried to get some speed, but that didn't really work because he lost a bit of traction on the that little kink of a corner. So he's going to have to slot into 7th behind Deco now. So that's a couple of positions he's lost. Harry is still looking all right for him with how excuse me, with how wet it is. Now, Spin playing the team game really well here, but is this going to allow Deco to come in into turn 1? On the run down, who's going to be brave on the brakes? Colin was slow at the end of the straight in 3rd. Deco looks like he's got past Spin, and he gets a nice little bump from Genesis as well, down into turn 2. Genesis follows him through. So every corner there's another change for position in this little pack. No one's able, well, the whole pack aren't able to take a single corner without incident. Now it's all going to kick off here again, isn't it? Everyone's incredibly close together. Looks like they all made it. The rain looks like it stops now. Bit of contact there between Spin and Genesis. So Spin's falling back. Pyro's up into 7th now. Yuri's up into 8th. So this is helping these guys who didn't have good sprint races make their way through the field with all the carnage going on. Deco's trying to get Harry. Harry's going to be struggling massively now on these wets compared to the inters. This is definitely into territory with how much fuel, water is left on the water gauge right next to the little car icon in the bottom left. Harry going defensive into the corner. He's surely gonna pit for softs. That would be the thing to do. I'd go into the pits on this lap if I was Harry and put on softs. It seems to be drying fairly quickly, the track. And you can get nice and up to speed while you're still in the tunnel coming out of the pits, so you don't lose the traction. But he stays out. This is, I fear, a big mistake for Harry. We've only got 4 laps to go. You could potentially stay out on the intermediate tyres for the rest of the race. That's what I'd be doing if I was most of these guys, I think. So through goes Deco. He got some bump drafts himself on the rear, and he's fully ahead of Harry. Harry might still get the advantage in the braking because he was offline. Deco just gets the corner a little bit wrong there. Harry, oh, he's in the wall. Through goes Genesis up into P4, Pyro into P5, Deco into P6. This is a really good wet stint for Pyro. He's him and Genesis have come from outside the top 10 up into P4 and 5 at the moment. But we're at this point now in the race where you have to figure out what are you going to do. We are in pretty much soft territory now. Deco's going to potentially have a little go at Pyro. Harry's dropped back behind Yuri as well, and now here comes Spin, who's going to comfortably get past his teammate. And Cherry, who was doing Sorry, was it Cherry or Kenny? I always get them confused. One of them was doing really good at the start of the race. I think it was Cherry. And Harry struggling. That is real tough. Like I said, this is a lap too late for him to come in. There is a dry line. If you stay on the dry line on soft tyres, you should be okay. But that's the other question. Can you stay on the dry line? It's very apparent. Let's go back up to X90G. What's he going to do? Leader of the race. You don't have a big gap. But are you going to come into the pits? Or are you going to risk it on the inters? He dummies going into the pits. He stays out. Astral stays out. Colin stays out. Genesis, everyone has elected to stay out. Here comes Yuri and Deco. Both of them staying out. Okay, everyone is going to go to the... Harry has stayed out. That's crazy. That is absolutely mental. You just gamble on the softs, wouldn't you? No one's come in. Absolutely no one has come in yet. Okay. Rain was a lifesaver. Yeah, I think it saved a lot of you and it condemned a lot of you, to be honest. This is a completely different result to what we would have had. So yeah, Astral was struggling in the sprint race. He's up in P2 now. Colin looking for a double podium. Genesis doing very well in this feature now. He's actually chasing down Colin by the looks of it. Him and Pyro, solid P4 and a P5. We have Yuri just ahead of Deco. Deco tried to get past, and he can't right there. Now that they can see the dry line, they need to be trying to drive in it as much as possible. Not what Deco's doing. That's how you lose about a second and a bit well, very quickly. Deco's actually trying to cool his tyres down, so he's worried about overheating his tyres. And that is a surefire sign to tell you that the softs are the tyre to be on. If drivers are already thinking about cooling, where is Harry? Harry's dropped to P11. He's still ahead of his teammate. Don't know what's going on between these two, but yeah, Spin's losing position. Someone nearly spun there. Let's go back. Cherry and Turbo Boy struggling through the last corner. Cherry taking a lot of curb there and ends up getting a bump draft. I don't think Turbo wanted to give him the bump draft. That's lost him a lot of time. Now coming quickly behind him are going to be Harry and Spin. Spin's definitely giving him a bump already. There's the second bump. So these guys, it should be pretty straightforward to get a couple of positions here with 2 laps to go. Still no one trying to come into the pits. Some tracks you could catch up to people within 2 laps. This one's a long lap as well. So I'm surprised no one has gambled, even the people further back. Cherry just completely gobbled up there. Turbo Boy found himself on the dry line. Harry's not on the dry line and he brakes very early. Spin, it gets past both of them. A bit of, yeah, both of them going a little bit wide through that corner. Spin says, thank you very much, I'll take those positions back, up into P9 now. So, Turbo in P10. He's ahead of Harry, who is battling with Cherry. He's actually lost that battle with Cherry. He's just got, yeah, it's not going to work for him. Look how worn his tyres are. Is he even going to make the final lap? Potentially. I mean, everyone else is making mistakes as well. There's Turbo in the wall losing too. It's all kicking off. So the battle for P2, Astral, Mason and Pyro. Well, Pyro's actually dropped off the back of them a little bit. These guys' tyres are starting to wear a lot as well. Marriott with quite a comfortable lead, as he's not in slipstream, he's completely on the wet there, so that's going to affect him. Astral keeps it on the dry line, which is why he's got a good exit compared to Colin. Colin and Genesis very close here. Gone onto the wet part. Obviously you can go on the wet to dry your tyres off, but it does cost you a little bit of time having to kick up all that extra water. One more lap to go. Genesis is opting for the bump draft on Mason. He thinks clearly he can get past a McLaren and an AMG. Audi does have slightly better top speed when they're just on a drag race against each other. This is going to kick off. Very, very worn tyres on everyone's cars as well. Astral, a complete sitting duck there. Genesis struggling to take the corner. Colin struggling to take the corner. All of them struggling to take the corner. Pyro taking it a little bit better than them. Starting to close the gap. Colin trying to go around the outside of Astral. Actually gets the position done. We are on the final lap. That is the battle for P2 on the final lap. Colin gets it. He has to maintain his composure. His tyres are slightly better than Astral's. Genesis is really struggling on the rears there. So it's going to be potentially touch and go to see if he can finish this lap. Oh, Astral in the wall. Little power slide through the first corner helped Genesis. In the second corner completely stopped him dead. Pyro ends up giving him a bump draft. Pyro has a good chance of a podium here. Oh, Genesis has lost it. Makes contact with Pyro and he's completely span around. Pyro's got some front bumper damage. Genesis has actually kept going, but he's got a puncture, which is why he can hardly drive the car. This is going to be a painful final few corners in what could have been a podium on his first ever race in Tier 3. Yeah. Let's put him out of his misery and not extend the pain. X90G final corner. Colin going very deep in the final corner. Potentially, well, he's close to puncture territory himself, but they'll get away with it. This has been definitely a race to two halves. Didn't think X90G was going to take the victory, but this was a very, very solid intermediate stint by him. Much better than the rest of the field. He's done his homework in the wet, and he takes a very good victory in the Ford GT. In second place will be a new championship leader, Colin Mason, followed by Astral, a really solid recovery race in the feature. Yuri in P4, ahead of Deco in P5, two good results for them too. Zimmer in P6 again, after what happened at the start. That was a great recovery for Zimmer in the wet. Spin P7, Cherry might be a little bit disappointed with 8th, but he did qualify last, so Whack Jams in P9 in the end after his issues at the start. Pyro, what happened? Oh no, how did I miss it? He's not even got a puncture yet. Oh. Completely facing the wrong way, and he's, hopefully there's no, yeah, he's still being ghosted. And there's another one. And then his teammate is even going to follow him through, and his teammate probably had the worst race in history. So we've got the first ever Alfa Romeo clown show of the season. Both of them just sucking today. What was that, Whack? Oh my god! What's going on? They're still not moving. Oh man, and they're only going to beat the guy who stayed on wet tyres on a completely dry track, who's got completely dead tyres. Genesis has got completely dead tyres, and Turbo Boy, who's also got completely dead tyres. These guys, oh man, wow, it's definitely a show. Yeah, Alfa Romeo Clown Show P9 and P10, and then these guys, a 3-second penalty for Harry as well. That's probably for corner cutting somehow with his dead tyres. Kenny is actually going to beat him. Genesis from potentially 3rd to 13th. Turbo Boy shoulda, woulda, coulda had a much better result in this feature as well, but he's definitely got the pace. So we'll see him back. Just a bit unfortunate that, yeah, these guys, somebody should have pit for the softs. I can't believe no one in like P11, for example, just came. And Harry, if Harry had put on softs when I said, he'd have at least been in the top 9, because look at the issues that 9th backwards had, but even higher, to be honest. So that's it. That was good. Next week we are at Watkins Glen, my favourite track. High tyre wear, high chance of penalties. It's going to be another completely different one to this. Expect to see completely different cars at the front again. I don't think the Ford GT is going to be winning that one. McLaren should be decent. BMW is the OP car there. Mazda is very good there. I have no idea about the Citroen. I'm assuming it would be quite decent. Toyota would be good, but the tyres will be a very big issue for them. Huracan will be good, and it depends on... Also, it depends on how good these guys are with the tyres and with driving in general for that one. Because you can drag a car with poor tyre life to a very good result if you are the one that's gentle. So if that's what you've been practicing this week, you've been doing the right thing, if you've just been going for all-out lap time, then yeah, the feature race is probably going to be a bit of a tough one. So yeah, join us. Well, actually, I'm commentating in about an hour and a bit in esports with Pyro, so join us for that. That'll be a good one. We are at Autopolis, where it could also rain. So fingers crossed we get some rain there. Thanks.